You brush your teeth on a daily basis, right? Probably take a shower too. I imagine the answer is yes, because if you did not, over time your teeth would decay and you'd probably start to smell really bad and no one would want you to be around them anymore. Well, guess what? As we age, our movement quality is going to naturally decay over time. And this is especially true once you hit your 40s, 50s, and beyond. So just like there are certain things that you invest a little bit of time in every single day for your daily hygiene, you should probably be taking that approach with your movement hygiene as well. And when I say movement hygiene, I'm basically just referring to your ability to take your joints through their full range of motion in a pain-free and efficient manner. And just like brushing your teeth or taking a shower, this really only takes a few minutes per day. It doesn't have to be time-consuming, you don't need a lot of space, and really you don't need a lot of technical know-how. You just need this following video that I'm about to show you. So take the next couple minutes to watch this video, learn how to perform the movements, and invest a little bit of time in yourself. That way, when you hit your mid-50s, late 50s, into your 60s, your movement quality is still gonna be there, and therefore, your quality of life is gonna be elevated as well.
Okay, so first up on our movement hygiene checklist is the cat camel. So your spine is meant to move, it's meant to flex, it's meant to extend, and when you stop doing that over time, you can develop a lot of stiffness in your low back and just in general. So make sure that when you do this one, you're really focusing on making sure the movement occurs in the spine, not in the hips and arms. So drive your belly towards the ground and extend your spine, and then round and push your back towards the ceiling to flex it. So next up, we have the bird dog, and this movement may look pretty innocent, but if done well, it's imperative to helping you maintain movement quality as you age. When you lift up an opposite arm with an opposite leg, the musculature in your core and in your hips really needs to fire so you do not lose your balance. So make sure that when you do this one, you focus on pushing yourself away from the ground, keeping your stomach braced, and giving your glutes a good hard squeeze on that back leg every time that you kick back. Hey, remember about 20 seconds ago when I said your spine is meant to move? Well, guess what? Not only can it flex and extend forward and backwards, but it's also meant to bend sideways, lateral flexion, kind of like what you see me doing here. So rock your butt all the way onto your heels, reach your hands out pretty much as far as you can, and then from side to side, you're just gonna inch over and reach as far as you can. Now, when you hit that position, you might feel a little bit of a stretch in your armpit, in your oblique, maybe in your low back, and that's kind of what we're shooting for on this one. Now, if sitting in this position is troublesome and uncomfortable, you can shove a pillow behind the back of your knees, and that will help alleviate some of the discomfort in this position. Okay, next up, we have one of my personal favorites, the alternating 90-90, and the name is given for the position that your knees and hips are in, which is 90 degrees. So you can see that as I pivot and as I switch from side to side, I'm using my hands in order to do so. So doing this is gonna make this movement a little bit easier, but what you'll see now is I'm doing a hands-free version, which, as you can imagine, is a little bit more challenging. So this movement is important because it externally and internally rotates your hips as you switch from side to side, which is something that, quite frankly, not a lot of us are getting on a regular basis. And then finally, you can lean back and use both hands on the ground as a regression to make this movement a little bit easier. Next up, we're in a push-up position, and to start this movement, you're going to start off with a scap push-up, which basically means you let your shoulder blades pinch together and push yourself away from the ground without letting your elbows bend. So that's a movement that's really going to aid in long-term shoulder health. After that, you're going to step your foot to the outside part of your hand, push your hips down towards the floor, get a real good stretch on both hips. This is followed by a windmill of the arm, letting your hand rotate as you go to your butt and then back down towards the floor. Once you're on one side, you obviously do the same thing on the other. From here, we're going to flip it onto our back and go into a hip bridge position. So I like to tell people that when they perform this movement, to press your hands down into the floor, which is going to help brace your stomach. Drive through your heels, push your butt up in the air, give it a good squeeze at the top, and then without letting your hips drop, twist, wiggle, or rotate, you're basically just going to march in place. And this is going to challenge your glutes, your hips, your core muscles, which is all going to benefit you in the long run. Last but not least, we have an alternating dead bug. So when you start this position, you're going to have your knees bent, arms up in the air, and you're going to drop an opposite arm with an opposite leg towards the ground. Now, make sure that when you do this one, you're actively pushing your belly button into the ground. And what I like to do for this one is I'm actively pulling my other leg towards my chest as I drop the one leg. This is really going to work your hip flexors, which is often a neglected muscle for most people. So if you work it, you're going to feel better in the long run.